Welcome to the latest of my inside tracks. Today I'm going to explore the Mercury Cazimi, which occurs on Monday the 30th of September in the sign of Libra. A Cazimi is when the Sun applies to another planet, thus magnifying the natural characteristics of that other planet with its radiance, its might. The furnace of the Sun amplifies the natural qualities, in this case of the planet of communication, but also the planet of precision. We're going to get 6 Mercury Cazimis this year. This is number 5, but it's also a superior conjunction. That's because Mercury is traveling in direct motion. When it's in retrograde, it's known as an inferior conjunction. And it's going to occur at 9:09 p.m. universal and at 8 degrees and 11 minutes. I'm going to share with you the exact snapshot of the event and review it from a solar but also natal perspective, because we do need to be mindful of what's going on in the 2 signs that are ruled by Mercury, of Gemini and also of Virgo. But this is an opportunity to think about how we relate, because the host, Libra, very much about those interactions with others, but also finding that balance, that equilibrium. But we need to be mindful that the sign of Libra is a cardinal sign, so very, very powerful. It is about executive action. So if we want to take the initiative around any kind of relationship or partnership, we have a fantastic opportunity with this particular event. I'm going to go through those 2 event charts, and then I'm going to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your Sun, Ascendant or Moon. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 personal horoscope forecast offer, if you order it now, you can get the rest of year 24 free. Also in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. All of this will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. So the Mercury Cazimi is an opportunity in Libra to think about how we interact with others, to perhaps consider where other people are coming from, what their needs are, but also a chance to articulate what we want from the equation. But Libra can also be a sign which gives us an opportunity to set our boundaries, to make it clear to people exactly what we will not accept as much as what we'd really like. But what about the event itself? If we look at the charts for the exact moment from a solar and also natal perspective, it gives us a lot more information. So on the screen now is the solar event chart. As you'd expect, the Sun and Mercury are in house 7, but very close to the South Node. And that's a really critical detail, because the South Node in Libra is not going to be back for 18.5 years once it leaves on the 11th of January next year. And that can be a position where we retreat into people pleasing in order to keep the peace, keep that sense of equilibrium and harmony. But by so doing, we can lose our identity a little bit. So that can be one of the gotchas with the South Node being so close to the Cazimi. What other things can we take from this? Well, we need to look at the ruler of the sign of Libra. It's Venus, of course, and that's detrimented in Scorpio. But it's not coming into an exact contact with another player, but we just need to be mindful that Venus here is asking us to be very sincere, very invested in our relationships, because Libra energy can be a little bit superficial. But what about the 2 signs that Mercury rules? So that's Gemini, but also Virgo. So what are the players there? Well, in Gemini, we have Jupiter, like Venus, detrimented in its location. Jupiter in Gemini round to the 9th of June next year is reminding us, particularly when the retrograde begins on the 9th of October, that we must try to be sincere about the ideas that we express, and there can be a tendency to big things up, exaggerate, and not stay with the facts. But that position of Jupiter is squaring to the moon in Virgo. Now actually a Jupiter-Venus square can be quite generous in some ways, but it's just that the moon in Virgo is in an opposition with Saturn. So that moon is really afflicted on this event. And the reason it's afflicted is because we could try to overpromise with the Jupiterian energy, but also the Saturnian energy means that some old issues, if we're trying to put a relationship onto a better footing, because Saturn in the 12th house and in Pisces may be simmering in the background or maybe influencing our interactions more than we're truly conscious of. But I just want to tell you about another concept, and it's the midpoint between the Sun and the Moon. The Sun and the Moon midpoint is the yin-yang of this event. And we take the shortest point between them, and guess what? It is in Virgo, but it's at 27 degrees. But look at the position of Neptune. It's at 28 degrees. And that Neptunian energy can create distortion, and of course it can also create confusion and a sense of unreality. So if we are trying to talk something through with someone and it's proving a little bit challenging, the fact that both the midpoint and the moon in Virgo, ruled by the more precise energies of Mercury, are confronted by Saturn and also by Neptune, can make this particular Mercury Cazimi a little tricky. So we just need to consider that too. But what about from a natal perspective? The ascendant is at 0 degrees and 19 minutes in Cancer. And it means the cluster of energy in the sign of Libra is house 5, which can be very playful, sociable, charismatic, perfect if we are wanting to go on a date with someone new. It could be flirty, it could also be fun. But equally, if we want to get together with some people that we get on well with, mix and mingle, there's a great chance to do that. Interestingly, the midpoint moves into house 5, but it's still opposed by Neptune in house 11. So that points to the fact that even relationships around our friendship circle, that could be an area where we may encounter some stuff that's a bit challenging. But Saturn is also still opposite the moon, but Saturn's right at the top of the chart. So if there is someone who kind of likes to get their own way, likes to dominate proceedings, maybe a bit controlling, that opposition between Saturn and the moon in the 4th house, that really means that it's quite hard to get that balance between how we feel about things and pushing back on someone who is perhaps a powerful personality. But if you are wanting to use this event to have some fun, it certainly gives you the opportunity to do so, because even though Venus is detrimented in Scorpio, it does move into the 5th house, which essentially is a very Leonian, it's a very warm, affectionate energy. So just to recap, the Mercury Cazimi sees the Sun, magnified the natural characteristics of Mercury, very much to do with communication, talk and thought, through its rulership of Gemini, but very much to do with discrimination and precision through its rulership of Virgo. We have an opportunity to work on our relationships because it's Libra, certainly sharpening up our listening skills, being a bit more detached, but because the South Node's there, if we are someone who tends to not want to rock the boat, then maybe this Cazimi is a chance to be a little bit bolder about saying how you feel. But whether someone will like it is another matter, with the Moon and Saturn in an opposition. Please stay with me as I give you a brief flavour for each of the 12 signs, what you can expect from Aries through to Pisces. So Aries, this event gives you a glorious opportunity to connect. But if you're finding it difficult to feel available within yourself, perhaps it's also the time to ask yourself some searching questions that perhaps past experiences or disappointments or hurts are still inhibiting you from perhaps moving forwards. Now, that's not to say that you should just set those aside, but certainly if you can work on them, self-heal, understand the circumstances around whatever happened more clearly, then Mercury and the Sun being in your 7th house give you a chance to perhaps move on from that. And if you can move on, then there's an opportunity to start to meet another person, not just on this event, but over the next 6 months on the back of this week's coming solar eclipse. So Taurus, the combination of the Sun and Mercury for you is in house 6. Libra is of course about relating. House 6 can be about work, where we have obligations and responsibilities. But do you feel that despite all your sacrifice, other people, or certain one or two, tend to take you somewhat for granted? If that's the case, this is a great chance to set your stall out to say what you will not expect. And it can be around a friendship with a colleague as much as in a romantic context. If you'd like to meet someone, it may be in a very practical location. If not this week, over the next 6 months. But there is a potential gotcha, and that is with a 6th house Mercury Cazimi, there could be a potential to get caught up on a detail or an irritating habit of someone you're closely involved with and find it difficult to widen the lens to just bear in mind the other things where you do get on better. So just be mindful of that too. So Gemini, for you, the combination of the Sun and your ruler Mercury moving through the sign of Virgo was much more reflective. You're going to find your spark is increasingly coming back, and it can be that rather playful, even rather mischievous side of your nature that you can showcase on this event. But if you have got talents, flair, creativity and artistry that you want to manifest, the next half year, which is really going to be triggered by this event to begin with, can be a chance when you can truly shine. But the 5th house can be very, very playful. And if you want to reinvigorate your social situation, meet up with friends, that's a great way to get talking to a potential new romantic admirer. But in an existing relationship, I think doing things together which are enjoyable and fun is certainly a great way to reignite the passion between you. So whether it's going to a movie, going to watch a band, going for a meal, if you can do those more pleasurable things, a great thing to do on this event. So Cancer, this event occurs for you in house 4, very much in keeping with the flavour of your sign. It could be that you're thinking about working from home, or you do work from home. Mercury can be about commerce, but also Mercury in the 4th house can make it a bit more difficult for us to articulate what we're feeling, and the thoughts can just circulate around our minds. But if you do have a chance to have a heart-to-heart with someone that you really trust, it's possible that you could reveal some things that you've been keeping inside, and if that happens, it could actually be truly cathartic. Also, from a romantic viewpoint, Libra can be about relationships, of course. I feel that what you're wanting is a connection with someone that is very heartfelt, that where you can say how you feel in a very relaxed way. Leo, what an exciting event for you personally, because the 3rd house, very much in keeping with Gemini energy, suggests a speeding up. Your mind's going to be going up several gears. Whatever it is that's really gripping you at the moment, whether it's your friendships, your social world, a hobby, an interest, your work, that sharpness that Mercury can bring can be such an asset to you. In fact, the next half year is going to be extremely fast paced for you, and I feel a great chance to really move forwards with the things that you're enthused and excited about, because you're going to articulate them with a lot of passion over this event, but in the next 6 months too. So Virgo, your natural appreciation of the details of situations is always in the mix. On this particular event, you're being asked to apply them to looking again at your everyday finances. You could find by rechecking something that you can squeeze a little bit more value out. But also the 2nd house can be about our self-worth, our values, and that may be something that you can also reappraise on this particular Cazimi. So Libra, your gift is around relationships, but for you, ironically, this Cazimi is asking you to think about what you want solely from a situation. Now, if you are a creative and you're wanting to get a new project off the ground, this is fabulous. It can give you just that spark of extra energy. But if you've got an ongoing plan or project that's important to you, that too can be an area where you can find yourself being that much more single-minded, but also clearer in understanding what you need to do. So Scorpio, the 12th house combination of the Sun and Mercury can be a little bit tricky, but because the solar eclipse is going to be in the 12th house too, it's an energy you're going to need to work on over the next half year. Essentially, the 12th house can be the area of life we're not so keen to embrace. The things like our fears, our anxieties, the things that are not quite integrated into us. Now, if you're someone who's very much into personal development, understanding what makes you tick, I think you'll work with it absolutely fine. In fact, for all Scorpios, this can be a chance to really enhance your deeper understandings, which are often very strong. You have an instinct to see what's not obvious, and that actually can be amplified. So that's the thing to work with. The 12th house energy could also see you reconnecting with someone from your past. Perhaps a friend, perhaps an old colleague, a college friend, and that can be something to celebrate. But the 12th house can also be where people may manifest some opposition to you, but not necessarily in an outright obvious way. So just watch out for people that you can't totally rely upon. Trust issues could come up through this next half year. Sagittarius, the combination of the Sun and Mercury in house 11 is all about sociability, play, networking, something that you have a natural appreciation for. But of course, Saturn has been dampening that down over the last couple of years, so you have a chance to reignite those connections. But if you are someone who's really invested in a cause, or you work very well with others, perhaps as a member of a team through your work, you're going to be really on top form from here on in. But if you are wanting to relate to someone in a more personal way, it could be someone through your friendship circle who's set to become more important to you. In an existing relationship, you're being asked to celebrate the things you have in common, not the things that make you different. Capricorn, when Mercury crests on the 10th house cusp, as it does from a solar perspective for you, can push us to think about retraining or using the skills we already have in some kind of new or fresh way. The combination of Mercury and the Sun means that if you are an ambitious person, you want to get in touch with someone influential, your choice of words and the way you come across can be particularly effective at this time. Also, because the host, Libra, is about relating, it could be who as much as what you know over the next few weeks. So Aquarius, the Mercury Cazimi for you can inspire you to learn a new language, a musical instrument, apply for a course, whether it's a full-time educational opportunity or something that you could do online. It may give you a greater thirst to travel, but all of these themes can play out over the next 6 months. If you are someone with a message you want to reach a wider audience with, publishing could be an area that's of interest too. But also, if you want to use the sharpness of Mercury and its combination with the Sun, if you are wanting to go on a journey for pleasure purposes, the research you do for it can be meticulous. But generally what you're looking for is a greater sense of excitement, adventure, and to be more spontaneous. And in a relating sense, you're wanting to get to the truth of what any close relationship may be about. So Pisces, with Saturn and Neptune in your sign, feeding back against the midpoint and also the position of the moon, I feel that when it comes to relationships for you, at the moment there's a sense that you're going to take them quite seriously and you're not really so bothered about superficial pledges or what appears to be nice language. You want to know if people are really invested and they mean it. And that would be particularly true of a romantic situation. But in terms of life's more pragmatic themes, the 8th house can be about where we marshal our long-term resources. It can be things like pensions, investments, shares, legacies, inheritances. And if there is some paperwork around those themes that does need to be tightened up on, great opportunity on this event to do so. But generally, you're donning your detective's mac. You're not so interested in what people are saying. You're interested in what they really mean. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me for this Mercury Cazimi special. If you've yet to check out your year 2025 deep dive forecast, please see the link beneath this video where you can do so now.